Well, Chris Mitchell is joining us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, tell us about the Ram Party. Who are they? What are their goals?
Well, right now they made news just a few weeks ago, Gordon, by saying that they would be willing to work with Netanyahu. And actually, Netanyahu reached out to the Arab population this election, unlike the other three elections. It may surprise people that Ram is a chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're nationalistic. What do I mean by that? They want an Islamic state in Palestine. That's why some parties will not sit in a government with Ram. For example, the Religious Zionist Party won't sit with them. They're on the other end of the spectrum, both politically and religiously. A number of parties are unwilling to sit with each other. For example, Gideon Sa'ar won't sit with the Joint List. That's another Arab party. The Joint Arab List won't sit with some of the extreme right parties. Another party, Yamina, where we mentioned in the report, won't sit with Meretz, a far-left party. And that's what makes this post-election scenario so complicated. Some people describe it sort of like a political Rubik's Cube.
Well, what are the chances that Netanyahu continues as prime minister, or is someone else emerging as a leader that people can coalesce behind?
Well, right now it looks very difficult for Netanyahu to survive, but he's a survivor. He's been the longest-serving prime minister in Israel's history. He's trying to convince some of these extreme right parties to be able to sit with Ram, even outside the government. And what I mean by that, you can have a minority government, meaning you have less than 61 seats, but you have parties that won't vote against you, and that's the way that could happen. He's trying to get defectors from some of the right parties that are against him to join him and defect from, say, New Hope, come to his Likud party. But in terms of prime minister, Gordon, there's really four possibilities. You have Benjamin Netanyahu, Naftali Bennett, Benny Gantz, and Yair Lapid. And either of one of those really does have a possible shot at being prime minister. So right now, lots of horse trading going on. They may try to form a government and actually pass a law outlawing any prime minister serving who's under indictment. Certainly that's directed exactly against Prime Minister Netanyahu. There's also the possibility of a one-year government just in order to pass a budget. Israel's the only Western country without a 2020 budget. They don't have a 2021 budget, and we're looking at a 2022 budget, and that's really hurting Israel right now, being able to just function as a government.
Well, I don't have much hope for the Muslim Brotherhood sitting down with any of the Orthodox parties. So are we going to see a fifth election later this year?
It could happen. And if you talk to Israelis, a lot of them just seem fatalistic. Well, we're going to go to fifth elections. It really does depend on a number of different factors, and so many various scenarios could unfold. What kind of coalition can be formed? It really depends on who's going to be recommending to the president within probably after Passover, which starts on Saturday evening, who will be the next prime minister. And they have Shabbat coming up today, Passover starting tomorrow night. So right now I've been hearing some people in these campaigns are going to be turning off their phones and they'll be praying.
Well, I've got to ask this. What does this mean for Israel's security? There's a lot going on right now with international diplomacy, the Abraham Accords, trying to create a joint security deal, even with Saudi Arabia. So how can they find any direction going forward with this kind of confusion in the election?
Yeah, great question, Gordon. I think internally there's lots of confusion going on. I think in terms of sort of the main threat facing Israel right now with Iran, I think almost everybody on the political spectrum is united on that. So I think the IDF will still be watching any threats coming against the Jewish state. On the other hand, with diplomacy and foreign policy, a number of countries, particularly the U.S., is going to be wondering, who can I talk to? Right now, there'll be a caretaker government with Benjamin Netanyahu still as prime minister. But certainly the internal confusion and disarray is really affecting its standing diplomatically around the world. But that's certainly the reason people should be praying for the peace of Jerusalem right now.
Well, Chris, thanks for the insight. And I'll echo that. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the peace